Continuing to talk basketball here on today's edition of the ETBU Extra, the first show of 2016, as we broadcast live from the campus of East Texas Baptist University on the first floor of the Ornella Student Center. And of course, during the lunchtime, we got students visiting, students studying, students eating from not eating Jazz Man's. I mostly get coffee at Jazz Man's, but eating from Sub Connection. And on every Wednesday, one of the local churches here in town brings food for the students to enjoy as well. Just a great time for the students to be on campus as they've been away for 4 weeks on Christmas break. And now they're back on campus as classes started this past Monday. Time now to talk Lady Tiger basketball with the head coach of the Tigers, Edsel Hamilton. The Tigers are 10-3 and 4-1 in conference play. And Coach, this is your first year coaching. If I would have told you the very first day that I met you that at this point of the season you had won 10 basketball games, you probably would have said, how can you say that because you don't even know me yet?
I think, if I'd have thought about that at the beginning of the year and thinking halfway through the season that we'd be 10-3, I think we probably would have taken that. Now, of course, now that we've gone through it, the 3 games that we lost feel like, just because I'm a competitor and I think the girls we have on our team are competitors too, we feel like we should have won all 3 of those. So wish we were sitting here at 13-0, but like you said, I think if we'd have taken a look at it from the beginning of the season, not really knowing what to expect, and said, okay, at this point you're going to be 10-3, I think we probably would be pretty happy with that.
Before we talk about the long road trip you had last week to Brownwood and to Alpine and talk about the game coming up Thursday night, I want to take you back to the Concordia game. I heard you in the post game saying that was a fun game to coach, a fun game to watch as a fan. Why was that?
Well, I think that was the most complete game that we've played from start to finish, as far as consistent effort level the whole time, the competitiveness of really trying to dominate somebody, and a good team too, and we really did. I mean, we executed what we wanted to execute offensively. We did what we wanted to do defensively. I mean, they missed some shots, and we made a few that might not go on another day. But the attitude and the intensity that we had that whole game, it was fun. The bench was hyped during the whole game. Every time we did something good, everybody was jumping up and down, and we had a really good week of practice leading up to that too. And I keep telling the girls that that's where it starts, is in practice. And you practice like that, you're going to play like that. So trying to bottle that and see if we can kind of do that more and more frequently, and hopefully do it every game is what we're striving for.
Of course, this year NCAA basketball went to 4 quarters of play, and we're halfway into the season. How is that working out with the change going to 4 quarters instead of 2 20-minute halves like the men still play?
I don't think it's been a really big difference. I mean, coming from Division I where we had the 4 media timeouts plus 5 timeouts, there were a lot more stoppages. So there's fewer stoppages. So the stretches of the games are a little bit longer now. So it can be good and bad. If you kind of got a little bit of a run going, it's a little harder to stop, without having to call a timeout. If you're kind of waiting on that media timeout, it goes a little longer. Also, if you're not in as good a shape as the other team, it lasts a little longer until you get that break. So I don't know. It's kind of broken it up into chunks. I mean, we kind of would break things up into 4-minute chunks, and now it's more 5-minute, 10-minute chunks where we can kind of say, okay, let's win this quarter. How do we do in this quarter? Against McMurray, I think we had 35 points in a quarter, which is crazy. But we've also had games where we've given up 24 points in a quarter. So it just kind of breaks it into chunks where you can kind of give them goals to think about, okay, for the next 5 minutes or for the next quarter, this is what we want to do.
One thing I've noticed calling Tiger basketball the 4 quarters is it seems like a lot of strategy to make that last shot before each quarter ends, because you never know. Those 2 points can come back and be what wins the ball game.
Yeah, there's more end-of-clock situations because before with the media timeouts, they kind of came naturally whenever there was a break in play. But now, like, you've actually got the clock winded down, so you got to have good execution there late in the quarter. Also, being able to advance the ball in the last minute of the 4th quarter has come up a lot. Like, we've done it a few times, not only when we've been behind trying to get further up in the front court to run a play, but also when we're ahead and we're trying to get the ball away from our own basket, and we've called timeout to advance the ball up so the other team's got a little further to go. So execution's been really important, so we stress that a lot in our practices of executing plays that we want to, and also other time management situations like trying to get 2-for-1s. If there's 48 seconds, 45 seconds left on the clock, you can try to go down and score quick and then get the ball back and have one more possession. There's just more opportunities like that.
That's what makes coaching fun.
Right.
All right. Visiting with Edsel Hamilton today here on ETBU. We actually talking Lady Tiger basketball. Let's move on to the weekend road trip the Lady Tigers had. It's the trip where many players go, oh, we're going to Brownwood, we're going to Alpine. It was your first trip on that long ride. What did you do to pass the time?
Mostly sat up front and talked to Coach West because he's full of fun stories. Watched some game film. We popped a couple movies in, so to kind of help the time go a little faster. So that was fun. But yeah, mostly talking to Coach West and watching some game film.
I was curious about what time the team rolled back into Marshall after playing in Alpine, and I saw one of the tweets from your players. It was 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, well, not as bad as I thought, actually. I thought we were going to get in closer to 4 or 5, but 3:30 wasn't as bad as I thought.
Well, let's talk about that trip. The first part of the trip, of course, is a trip to Brownwood, and you win that ball game by a score of 77-71. It was your first win as a Tiger basketball over Howard Payne in Brownwood since 2000 and 2001. That's a great victory to have on the road.
Yeah, we played pretty well. I think we didn't play great defensively, and we had some stretches where we looked kind of stagnant offensively, where we were kind of standing around waiting for somebody to do something instead of moving and making things happen. But we had some other possessions where we looked really good. We moved the ball really well, passed it around, and obviously, scoring 77 points against a team that plays pretty good defense. They're pretty aggressive, and I think we shot like 48% from the field in that game too. So played really, really well offensively. Really, I felt like we were pretty much in control of the game. And then late in the game, they started to kind of make a little run. They started, some kids that maybe not necessarily on the scouting report, as in didn't get to play a whole lot before our game came in, and started hitting some shots. So it kind of closed the gap on us a little bit, but felt pretty good about the way that one went.
Of course, in that ball game, April Leonard with 18 points and the Lady Tiger win. Taylor Alexander, the sophomore, 11 rebounds and 17 points. You continue to get good play from both of those ladies.
Yeah, I keep telling our girls that they're going to carry us, and that doesn't mean every single game. It doesn't mean every quarter of every game, but throughout the course of the season, they're the ones that need to get the ball as much as possible, because they're the ones that are they're our best players. It is what it is, and they're proving it every time they go out there. April can just create her own shot and make shots, and Taylor finishes around the basket. I think she's leading the league in field goal percentage right now, and I've really been on her about rebounding. And so far in conference games, I think she's averaging a double-double through the conference games. So she's really, really stepped up and doing a really good job with that.
You get the win last Thursday at Brownwood against Howard Payne, and then you travel on to play Sul Ross State University in Alpine. Unfortunately, the Lady Tigers lose that ball game 68-61. Secret Davis with 15 points in the ball game. Taylor Alexander with 12. Lauren Lee, who'll be our guest here in just a minute on ETBU, actually had 8 rebounds in the ball game. I noticed at halftime you were down by 6, but you also lost by 6, and there was kind of a span in the ball game that you kind of had a chance to get ahead and kind of just didn't work out.
Yeah, really, honestly, that second quarter is kind of what put us away. I think that was the one I was referring to when I said we gave up 24 points in the quarter. Sul Ross is a good team, and I told the girls coming in, we can't look at their record. It doesn't matter. They're a good team. They've been playing everybody close. But they're a team that's been averaging in the mid to high 50s, and we gave up 40 points and a half, and that's just not good enough. We can look for excuses about being on a long trip and the altitude and all that stuff, but they're dealing with the same thing because they'd only played one home game up to that point. So they've been on the road the whole season. It's only their second game in that gym too. And they had played, I think, at either UT Dallas or Ozarks. I can't remember the order. They were on that trip, so they were on the road on Monday. So they had actually had less time to prep than we did. So, the excuses don't matter in that kind of game. We just didn't have the kind of intensity that we needed to have, and the competitive fire. I just felt like it was kind of like our Shriner game all over again. We got a little complacent, and felt like we felt like we were the better team, but we didn't prove that when we went out there and played. We just thought that they were just going to give it to us, and they didn't. They're well coached. They played hard, and they really gave us all we could handle. And it seemed like every time we started to kind of go on a run, something would happen, whether we turn it over or we get a foul or something like that, and we just kind of couldn't get over the hump. But we dug ourselves too deep a hole in the first half. So I think we've learned from those mistakes, and hopefully we won't let it happen again.
After the trip to Alpine and Brownwood, the Tigers come back to East Texas, 10-3 on the year, 4-1 in American Southwest Conference East Division play. Tigers currently in second place behind University of Texas at Tyler at the top of the ASC East at 7-0. And coach, tomorrow night at Ornelas, University of Mary Hardin Baylor, the Crusaders come into town. Scouting report about this team?
They're a good team. I think they're same like Sul Ross. They're much better than their record. I think they're 4-8 right now, but they're a pretty good team from watching them on film. They've played a really tough non-conference schedule, and they've played a lot of. I think the East is pretty loaded this year, and they've played a lot of the East teams early, so that's where they've been struggling to get some wins. They played a lot of road games, but they're good. They're athletic. They play hard. I'm friends with their coach, and he knows what he's doing. So they're going to be a tough challenge for us. We're going to have to get back to doing what we do best, which is playing hard and playing smart and playing together. We preach that to the girls every single day, and I think if we do that, we'll be fine. But if we don't do those three things, we're going to be in for a long night.
Well, I noticed that the last game that Mary Hardin played was they lost to University of Texas at Tyler by a score of 68-63, and I went,
Yep.
oh, they only lost by 5?
They were
Something
ahead
must
with
be
5
good
minutes to
happening.
go.
Yeah. So they must be a very excellent basketball team coming into Ornelas.
They are, yeah. They're athletic. They're going to be a tough matchup for us because they really play 4 guards all the time. So, and we play 2 posts and 3 guards. So we're going to have to figure out how to match up with them. They shoot quite a few threes, so we'll have to protect the 3-point line. And they're athletic. They're going to try to run. We can get back in transition. And just get back to playing fundamental basketball and do what we need to do, and I think we'll be okay.
Well, Coach, this is your first year as the head coach of Lady Tigers. A lot of these teams you're playing for the very first time, obviously. Without revealing any secrets, how do you get a good scouting report from the team that you've never played before? Like Coach Burt West, he's been here since dirt. He kind of knows the tendencies of teams. Is he still here? No, he's already gone. I'm glad. We'll be all right.
I'll tell him later.
But, I mean, I'm just curious because as a fan, and I'm sitting going, it's his first year, but, boy, he sure is competitive against that team. Last year or the last couple of years, they've had our number. But what happened? What happens? How do you prepare?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is just we get access to film on games, so I'll sit there and watch them. And that was my job at Baylor for 8 years. So I've got a lot of experience doing that. So I've gotten pretty good at being able to condense things down quickly and also being able to kind of figure out what teams are trying to do without having to watch a ton of film. Of course, the more you watch, the better, the more, because people do different things in different games. But a lot of it's just watching film and kind of trying to get a feel for what they're trying to do overall, certain player tendencies, if there's things that can give us trouble or things that I feel like we really need to try to take away. It's the same kind of stuff that everybody does, but of course our advantage is that, people are doing this with me for the first time since it's my first time being a head coach. So, but as we get further on into the season, now we're going to start playing people twice. So now you're going to get into where you have to see what you did in the first game, make adjustments, but also plan for their adjustments too, because they're doing the same thing, watching the film, thinking from their perspective, what did we do well that we can do more of to do better, or what did we not do well that we need to fix? So you got to kind of think of it from both sides, kind of like the old cliche of a chess match. You got to be one step ahead, trying to think what the other teams are going to do. So we'll see a lot more of that here late in the season. We start playing people for the second time, and then obviously next year and the year after that, when you start playing the same coaches over and over again and see the same players over and over again, you really start getting a feel for what their tendencies are in certain situations and all that kind of stuff. Well,
Coach, any final words before you head into tomorrow night's game against Mary Hardin Baylor? Tip off at 7:30 at Ornelas. Game we broadcast on the ETBU Sports Net.
5:30. We're at 5:30.
Did I say
7:30?
7:30.
Please come out at 5:30.
Come at 5:30. I know that. I've only been here 13 years, so I know that.
Yeah, come out at 5:30. I think our girls are hungry to get back on the floor, so I think we were all very, very disappointed and frustrated with the way things went Saturday. So I think you're going to see a team that's really hungry and is going to get after it. And, hopefully I think we'll give the same kind of performance we did in the Concordia game, which unfortunately was during the break when there weren't that many people here. So I hope
it was
people
a very
out.
empty gym.
Yeah, I hope people will come out and see us and see what we're all about and support our girls. We got a great group of girls. They work really hard, and they're good kids too.
Lauren Lee will be our guest next on ETB Extra. What can you tell me about your post player?
She's been great for us. I was really excited to get her. She kind of fell in our laps. I mean, she reached out to us and said that she was thinking about transferring, and I brought her in for a visit. And of course, once we found out, we worked hard to make sure we got her. But she's been great for us. I think she's got a whole lot of room to improve too. So I think as we keep going on this year and then next year, she's only a sophomore. So she's got a lot of time to get better, and she's already doing really well for us. I think she's starting to improve rebounding. She has stretches in games where she can dominate. So we're just trying to put more of those together. But she's a really good kid. She does really well in the classroom. She works hard, and her teammates love her, and I love having her on the team.
Coach Hamilton, thank you for your time, and best to the Tigers tomorrow against
very
Mary Hardin Baylor. Looking forward to saying Tigers win, Tigers win, Tigers victorious over Mary Hardin Baylor. Coming up next on ETB Extra, we continue to talk Lady Tiger basketball, and as we've been alluding to, our guest will be sophomore Lauren Lee from the Lady Tiger basketball program. That's coming up next on ETB Extra.